Hey everybody, I'm Najee Barnes here having some investor real estate conversations. Today's a great treat for mine because, people always talk about your network is your net worth. And I'm here with my good friend, Derick Boles. And Derek, ironically, we've kind of known each other for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
probably north of 20-something years. I ain't going to age myself.
Before Instagram.
Way before IG. And so before we get started, I know who you are. I know what you do. I know where you came from. And why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself, what you're doing right now in real estate, and frankly, just, kind of brag a little bit and let everybody know how many dope friends I got.
So, Derick Boles, aka Broker Boles, broker owner of Legacy Homes and Properties. We have a brokerage that has agents in Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Austin, kind of throughout the state of Texas. I'm a realtor, I'm an investor, I'm a father, all that good stuff. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I wear a lot of hats and I try to wear them well.
And we met each other almost probably more than 20 years ago.
Sure.
Right? And, you were doing inroads. I was doing an intern. We were interns at a Fortune 500 company. Now, back then, would you ever thought we'd be sitting here right now today in my apartment complex, boutique hotel, talking about real estate? Because I don't think I was thinking that back then.
Not at all. I think the plan at that time was, let's climb this ladder. That's how we were trained. Let's climb the ladder. And so that's what we were on, but God had other plans, and now we got our own ladder now. So
yeah, and that's interesting that you say that, because again, I think the way I grew up in the hood, Northeast Houston, and it was go to school, do your work, go to college, get a job at a good company coming out. Hopefully made a couple dollars, and that was it.
For sure.
That
game over.
That was it, right?
Big screen TV, and you made it.
Exactly. I wasn't asking for too much more than that, right? And you started your career out of college as a professional. What was the profession you jumped into first?
So initially, I did corporate America for a little while. Then I transitioned into some event promotions downtown. Had a good time. I was a young man, but my longest run was in public education. I did that for 10 years. So I taught middle schoolers, I coached football, all that kind of good stuff for 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds for a span of 10 years prior to kind of diving into the real estate world.
So more or less just traditional job, right?
Sure.
Like education's everywhere,
Sure.
right? So, how and when did you fall in love with real estate?
It just kind of, the light bulb went off. I said, look, everybody has to live somewhere, including myself. And as opposed to being subject to somebody else regarding my four walls, why don't I have more control over my four walls? And once I did it for myself, I was able to help friends do it, family do it, so on and so forth. And it just kind of hit me that this is something that's not going anywhere. Everybody needs help, especially people in our communities. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what the process is. We're not being taught those things in schools. So if I'm able to be an avenue to help people get from A to B because it's something that they need anyway, then I'm all for it, and we just kind of went from there.
And when you talk about being an avenue, you're talking about being a real estate agent, right?
For sure.
Okay. And guys, look, on Instagram, on social media, everybody talks about 1,000 ways to get started in real estate. I actually believe one of the easiest and smartest and best ways to get started is being an agent.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on just someone getting started as an agent? Maybe they got a 9-to-5, maybe they're an educator, maybe they're working corporate America, just literally as an agent in itself.
So being an agent, I think, is a great way to educate yourself. It's a great way to stay in tune with what the changes are in the market as far as where to go, where to live, where not to live, what the pitfalls are. I think if you understand that for yourself, it's easy for you to share that with somebody else. So being a realtor, you're going to have education that you got to keep up with. You're going to have licensing that you have to keep up with. But all those things build your knowledge toolbox, so to speak. So when you're talking to your auntie or your cousin or your little brother, you're able to share information with them that they wouldn't have had otherwise, because nobody's going to tell it to them. There are people that make money off of us not knowing.
Right.
You see
and
what I mean?
that's really how money's made,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's keep it real, right? Particularly as an investor, right? Money's made in real estate, frankly, based on your ignorance.
For sure.
Let's keeping it real, right? That's what wholesaling is for the most part, right? But you're not an agent anymore, right? You're a broker. Now, for the people that don't know the difference, and let's assume that they may not, what's the difference between a broker and an agent?
Okay. So every agent has to be licensed underneath a broker. Every agent has to have somebody that is responsible for if they get in trouble, if they do paperwork wrong, if they find themselves in a lawsuit. The broker is a person that is responsible for that piece. You cannot jump out of your broker from day one. You have to be an agent for a certain amount of years, and you have to sell a certain amount of homes in order to sit for your broker exam.
You got to prove that you know what you're doing.
You got to prove that you know what you're doing. Before
Right.
you're in charge of other people's stuff, you sign other people's checks. And so as a broker, I'm really able to tap into that education piece that I was already doing with my 10 years in education. So I'm able to take all the success, all the different deals that I've done, plus the education piece from me doing that as a professional for 10 years, and bring that to my agents and able to help them along so they can grow their business.
All right, let's give a little people a little game. Whenever we talk, we gotta show people how to get some bags a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, so we're gonna get into it. So, what are the key benefits for somebody who really don't know what a broker is?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because there's really not a lot of brokers that look like us out here.
Not a lot, no.
Right? Why is it a benefit to be a broker? Like, why would you take those extra classes, spend that extra money, start this company, have this liability, right? What's the financial benefits of being a broker?
Well, I mean, we don't do anything for free now, bro.
No,
I mean,
no, we don't. No, for free.
So it is an avenue to add another income stream, for sure. Now you earn it, you work hard for it, but you gonna work hard at that job. You gonna work hard doing anything else that you'll be doing with your time.
Right.
So you work hard to build the trust of other licensees. You work hard to make sure you're educating yourself so that you can turn around and educate them. And you know, when your team does well, you do well also. And so that's a benefit of it. But like anything else, the hours you put in may not always match your paycheck, but you're not working for free. You're building your business, you're building their business, and overall, it does come back to you.
So we're talking about being a broker, and you know, one of the benefits of being a broker, I look at it from the outside, like it's a way to magnify yourself. Like, talk about just that as a businessman, because to me, the difference between a broker and an agent is an agent might be a side hustle. I feel like being a broker is having a business.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So the great thing about being a broker is I have a great team, and they've learned from myself, so they have some knowledge in their wheelhouse as well. If I get 10 phone calls tomorrow, I don't have to put anybody off. I don't have to tell anybody, hey, I'll get to you when I get a chance to get to you. They'll have somebody at their front door in the same day because I'm able to take on the business from Galveston to Rocher, and it doesn't really matter because my team is large enough.
All over the state, actually.
All over the state.
Right,
you know,
right.
That doesn't have to be in Houston. So I am able to multiply myself for sure to make sure everybody's getting that customer service. Because when people are moving, when people are selling something that's the biggest thing that they've ever owned, or they're buying something that's the biggest thing they're ever going to buy, they don't want you to put them off.
Right.
They don't want to hear back from you in a week. They're like, look, I'm doing this right now. I need help right now. And if I get that call, I'm going to make sure that you get that help for sure. And I'm able to keep my finger on the pulse with all of it from a broker standpoint.
So you being a little coy, and I ain't gonna pull you out there. But long story short, if you got a lot of people out here helping you sell a lot of homes,
Sure.
that just means you sell a lot more homes,
For sure.
right?
For sure.
And estimate how many agents you got right now. I know you have a range that come and go sometimes, but roundabout ish.
Right now we're at about 100.
About 100
We're at
agents.
about 100.
So essentially, 100 employees out here hustling.
They
All
are
right, well, y'all do that math. whatever math you think that is, you go ahead and do that math and do some multiplication, which is dope. So that's awesome, right? Like, I think it would be awesome to have 100 agents out here hustling, and let's say they were selling 4 or 5 houses a year. That ain't bad, right? That adds up. What are some of the pitfalls to being a broker?
So I'd say you really have to be organized. You can't overpromise and underdeliver. You can't give agents the feeling that they're the only person in the universe. I mean, you are running a business. You're not everybody's best friend. And so if you put yourself in a position where everybody thinks you're going to be at their beck and call 24/7, and they're going to be disappointed, and it's going to create a lot of turnover. You tell them what you're expecting of them. They know what they're expecting out of you, and then I think it works a lot better that way. But yeah, if you
and you're kind of responsible for
yeah,
it too, right?
yeah, for sure. And I mean, not training them. If you don't train them, now you're in lawsuits, you're in court. That's going to cost you money. Now you're hustling backwards. You know what I mean? So I would say to make sure that they're trained properly, and you know, you can't be everybody's best friend. Right. It's a business that we're running, and if the team understands that, I think things go a lot smoother.
So you sell a lot of homes,
For sure.
right? and somebody watching this probably don't own their home at all. Okay. And they watching this to get their education up. So let's give them a little something. Okay. What would be what are some of the common mistakes that a brand new buyer make? I know you tell this all the time.
For sure.
So what are some of the common mistakes, like a brand new buyer, don't know a whole lot? What are some of the mistakes that they make that you don't want them to make?
One, listening to people in the barbershop that tell you that you can do this with no money and no credit and all this kind of stuff. Don't listen to anything that sounds too good to be true. That'd be a mistake. Two, not having any money saved up. You're gonna run into you're gonna bump your head so many times because you don't have anything to invest into your property. That's gonna be a mistake. And the last one, and probably the biggest one, comparing you to other people.
Yeah.
You know, your auntie. I know your auntie's house is nice. But
So
everybody's situation is different. Ask your auntie what her first house looked like. Ask your mother what her first house looked like. I know we're on Instagram. I know we're looking at our friends and stuff, but everybody's journey is different. There's so many
Stop
different
keeping up with the jobs.
Stop doing that. Like, get the best thing for you in the space that you're in right now. You'll be better. But if you're comparing yourself to other people,
what about those people that say they gotta wait to get what their auntie and them got? What would you say to those people?
Well, I would say while we're waiting, let's get something now that fits your situation now, because that's going to do nothing but help you when you're ready to get your dream home. Let's not sit on the sidelines waiting to be a millionaire and then we can buy an auntie in them house, because your auntie probably sold 3 or 4 houses that she personally owned to help her get to that house that you're looking at that she's in now. So we don't have to sit on the sideline until we're getting our dream home. It's a process. It's a cycle. There's levels, like Meek said. There's levels to this thing. We don't jump out to level 10.
Yeah, and I like to tell people, man, starter homes are okay.
For sure.
Right? Like
they're normal.
That's what that's what they call starter homes, right? Get started with a home, and you learn more of these strategies. And again, you subscribe to this YouTube page, you subscribe to my IG account, and you'll learn more about how to get started in this game and grow. So I always tell people it's okay to get a starter home.
For sure.
Right? And, why don't people don't really like this word starter home. But to me, it's like, it says starter. That's how you get started. Yeah. Right? So, what do you think about just starter home versus the dream home and all that?
I like to take very successful people and I like to backtrack their story. If you look at very successful people that are wealthy right now, look at where they started. Most of them, their first house wasn't a mansion. Their first house didn't have 5 bedrooms. Their first house wasn't in a gated community. So it's very normal for you to buy what you can afford and then progress yourself from there. I mean, it's that simple. But we got to think, in the 80s and the 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have so many platforms where we could compare ourselves to other people.
I'm a lot of noise actually on these platforms.
Exactly. So all we knew was our street. All we knew was our little bubble. So it's easier for us to focus right there and to kind of stay right there in that lane. But now, it's so easy to scroll and see other things that are going on that we aspire to. There's nothing wrong with aspiring and stuff, but we all start somewhere. And the starter home makes you money. The starter home,
you make money, and that's how you get the down payment for the big house.
Exactly. The starter home part, step A is going to help you get ready for step B, is going to help you get ready for step C. Everything is an upgrade for someone. So when you're tired of the starter home, that's the upgrade for the next guy. He will say, man, I would love to have your starter home, and I'm going to pay you more for the starter home than you pay for the starter home. And then the snowball starts. That's how it goes, but that's a big one.
We got to get that equity first, guys.
For sure.
We got to get that equity first. So, all right. So, you broke a Boles. Legacy, killing the game.
We try.
Hundreds of agents, y'all.
For sure.
All right. But you're also an investor, too.
For sure.
Okay. So, talk about how did you, obviously you've been in real estate or whatever, what changed for you from being an agent to selling homes and say, hey, I'm going to keep some of these deals for myself?
For sure. So I actually was an investor before I was an agent.
Okay.
And I became an investor on accident. So I bought my first home before the crash, before 08.
Yeah.
And then 08 came, and then I got a family, and the new wife said, look, we're not living in the starter home. We're not going to do that.
Accidental landlord. That's what they call it. They call it accidental landlord.
So she said, we got to go. And I said, well, if we got to go, I guess I'll sell this thing. I wasn't thinking like a buy and hold investor at that time, but because the market had just kind of went through something, I couldn't sell it. So it turned into a rental property on accident, and I noticed that my value's going up, but somebody else is paying for it.
Yeah.
But my value's going up, but somebody else is paying for it.
Somebody else paying your note.
Well, heck, I mean,
Well,
why not?
Why not?
Why not? You know, why not just play this game for a little while? And so what I started doing is using the funds from either my sales or from the W-2 job when I was working in education and buy the next property. I mean, some of them were very cheap, some of them were a little more expensive, but essentially somebody else was paying the note on it, and I'm getting the value of what the property is going up over time, and it just turned into a thing. And so even if you get 1 or 2 a year, I mean, we got some more years on this planet where we can build some stuff. You know,
that's beautiful. And guys, I want y'all to hit on what we're talking about here. Look, the majority of investors that own rental property is not on Wall Street. They're on Main Street, and they become investors by accident. They're called accidental landlords, and that's actually the majority of the landlords in this country are accidental landlords in a very similar story to yours. And I want people to know that, right? So they don't have to feel all this pressure like, oh, I gotta do this way, whatever. No, however you get going, it's how you get going.
Because once the light bulb goes off, now you're rolling, you know, because I didn't even know what I was doing when I bought that house back in 2007, but, you know, math is math, numbers are numbers, you know. We all get that letter in the mail that says, hey, your house is worth this. Hey, your house is worth that. We can all look up comps. We all can look at that sign in the yard for our neighbor and say, damn, they selling their house for that much? But if your payment is fixed and somebody else is paying it, it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. So, all right, so you buying property, you renting property, you're selling property, you're helping new homeowners get in the game. You also help investors get in the game.
Sure.
So what tips would you give to the investor that maybe they got their own first home, they got a W-2 check, they're making a couple of dollars, for that newbie investor, different than the newbie homeowner? What advice would you give to them on getting started into real estate as an investor?
I say for the most part, think long term, think the long game, because a lot of things that we invest into, sometimes we want our money back tomorrow. Sometimes we want it back next week. And that's not always the case. Sometimes we put our money into something and we allow it to do what it's going to do. And it's going to do a lot better for you over time than that bank account is going to do for you. So we have to look at it that way. That money that's sitting in your bank, you're not putting any pressure on that money for it to do magic tricks for you. So when we put this money into this duplex or into this quadplex, allow it to go through its process, and it's going to do you great over time. But if you call me back the next week like, hey, Boles, when I get my money back, that's the wrong mentality to have. Now I have to try to find you a deal that pays you back 100% in 7 days. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So think long term, think the long game. There are some shorter term investments, but for the most part, real estate is a long game. Some of the most valuable parts or the most valuable sections of Houston are older areas. You think about your River Oaks, you think about your Heights. They've been there for a long time. Third Ward, they've been there for a long time.
They used to be somebody's hood.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So think about something you can hold on to. I mean, we want this to benefit us in our retirement years.
Yeah.
We want this to benefit our children. That's not a quick turnaround thing. So new investors that come to me, hey man, I'm going to help you. We're going to get you something that's going to perform, but let's think the long game on this thing.
Love that. My man, Derick Boles, Broker Boles.
Yes, sir. Get it
right. Man, I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
It's been a pleasure to really just see the growth that you made over the years. Back in the day when, you know, we was both sleeping at that internship in front of the computer. We ain't gonna talk about that. Yeah. As some young interns at this Fortune 500 company, but out here killing the game. So look, if you want to learn one thing, have a good network of friends and just go out here and do stuff. I tell people all the time, I just like to hang around smart people because eventually they're gonna do something, right? Sooner or later, right? I go learn from them. But with that being said, man, Broker Boles, how can they find you? Where do they find you if they want to get in contact with you?
For sure. So our website for the brokerage is www.legacyhomesandproperties.net, or the easiest way for myself to set appointments or just to get in contact with me, shoot me a DM, is through the Instagram. It's at Broker Boles, BROKERBOLES. Look forward to hearing from you guys, whatever you need.
Just like that. Check in with my man Broker Boles. Check in with me, Onaje Barnes, on all your social media channels. Onaje Barnes on all your social media channels. And make sure you subscribe so you can get more dope conversations like the one we just had.